Hello, welcome to episode 2 of Conversations about Corporate Social Responsibility. My name is Paul Klein and I'm the president of Impakt, and I also write a blog for Canadian Business Online about corporate social responsibility. In this episode, I'm pleased to have with me two gentlemen from BMO, Jim Johnston, who's the Director of Environmental Sustainability, and also Tai Liu, who is a workforce analyst and also a member of their environmental ambassadors. And in this episode, we're focusing more on the environmental aspects of corporate responsibility. The first question I had for Jim is if you could describe how you've been so successful in such a large organization in terms of getting this program up and running within 2 years.
One of the first things we did was, step back and get an understanding of where we were at the time and where we needed to get to. And out of that came an operational strategy that we call the Eco5 strategy. And we call it Eco5 because fundamentally there are 5 elements to it. We early on had a look at the various elements that we had an impact on the environment for. And those fundamentally are in the areas of energy, transportation, materials consumption, waste, and procurement. It's a framework that allows us to think about how we do things, how it is that we impact the environment. The key, though, is actually devoting some full-time resources and focusing on the environmental sustainability piece of it directly.
One of the things in the work that we do, which I often find quite frankly quite surprising, is the often very low degree to which employees in corporations are actually aware of and involved in both social and environmental programs. When Jim and I were speaking, he described to me some quite innovative approaches to engaging employees. I'd be pleased if you could just tell us a little bit more about what you've done so far.
We went through an exercise last year for a better part of the year where we implemented on a formal basis our environmental management system. And we decided to do that to a third-party standard. In this case, it's ISO 14001. We're proud to say that we achieved our certification for ISO 14001 in December of 2008, but we could absolutely have not done that without the participation of people like Tai and many, many others, acting as agents in the field or champions on their floor to be our point of contact, to feed information back and forth. One of the other things that we've done fairly recently is to introduce an environmental employee intranet site. It provides for a discussion board that employees can send messages in or have conversations about. It's allowing us to provide various resources to the employees, whether it be an instructional document that tells them how to ensure that they're printing duplex, or whether it's a simple reminder to turn the lights off poster in the various conference or meeting rooms that that they're in. It provides a tip of the week to try and keep it fresh. So we refresh that every week with something new to keep the interest levels up.
So Tai, I had a question for you. First of all, how did you come to be involved as an environmental ambassador, and what does that involve? What do you do?
I initially heard about the environmental ambassador program through the presentation that Jim Johnston and his colleague Kelly Deaton had delivered to the employees. So I immediately seized the opportunity to get involved. And being an environmental ambassador, the big part of the role is to raise awareness to other employees about environmental initiatives and objectives. The environmental ambassador also acts as a liaison with the employees and the environmental sustainability group to share ideas, to share feedback, to provide status update on how the environmental program is going.
How do you actually convince people to actually get involved, given that everyone's already busy?
Even the environmental ambassadors themselves, they have their full-time work to balance as well, so they do manage to find time on the side to participate in environmental events. From the employee standpoint, we engage employees by raising awareness using networks such as team meetings that we attend to raise awareness there and to get them engaged. A lot of employees are already green conscious, so those are not a problem. For those that are non-believer, it's a bit of a challenge to get those individuals to be engaged in it.
I understand the bank has put in place mechanisms for employees themselves to contribute ideas.
As a management team focusing on environmental sustainability, we'd be remiss to think that we had a lock on all the good ideas that could or would be generated. And I think if we leverage the feedback and the input from employees we can gain valuable insights into some of the things that are going on in some of the more remote locations, or perhaps a branch, maybe an office tower, what have you, and seize upon those opportunities, think about them, how could we deploy them, how could we use that as a best practice to take that across the organization. So an example of that, I mean, we have individuals who service, we call them LAN rooms, where your equipment would be. These rooms are visited whenever there's an issue. The lights, if they're left on, might be on until the next time a LAN technician comes to service, the particular piece of equipment. So, installing things like motion sensors that will automatically turn the lights out to save electricity is a simple example of a feedback mechanism that came from an employee.
I thought you might be able to share with us some ideas that you would have. So as an example, someone from another business asks you what they could or should do to be more environmentally responsible. What do you tell them?
Implementing change or behavioral change, across a population set the size of ours is not going to be an easy task, and it's certainly not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. So recognizing that and then focusing your efforts on having a clearly defined strategy that can be articulated. You need to know where you want to get to. Take advantage of the opportunities to leverage the passion and the interest in employees who are out there. Believe me, they are out there. All you have to do is tap into them. Combine that with the top level support at the CEO level or other senior executive levels, and I think you got a good combination. One of the things that we've done and found to be fairly effective is that we highlight or spotlight particular employee either events or initiatives or actions on our intranet site. People always like to see that they're being recognized. And finally, I think that it's important that as the sustainability group, it's our job to show leadership and provide guidance to employees, to provide them with the resources and tools that they can utilize in the field to make a difference, and be there to support them in their efforts so that the program itself can be truly sustainable. It's not a project, it's a program, and it needs to be sustainable.
If there's one thing that that people should most keep in mind about engaging leadership, what is the most convincing argument that you can make to executives to get behind a program like this?
I think the key is to make it real. People often think that there needs to be a choice between sustainability and perhaps saving money or in these tough economic times. I think the two actually go hand in hand. A good example of that is, we've had a focus on for quite some time in terms of reducing our transportation emissions. We can do our job very well, by not getting on a plane and traveling to meet a colleague in a different city, but by picking up the telephone or utilizing some of the state-of-the-art video conferencing equipment that we've deployed and get the same result.
And another related question to that is, benchmarking and measurement of what you're doing in this area. Again, in our experience, and I'm sure yours as well, I mean, this is fundamental to continuous improvement and so on. So, just to share any thoughts about how to best do that.
I think one of the key successes that I would suggest we had as part of the ECO5 strategy development and implementation is the actual benchmarking and baselining of our carbon emissions using 2007 as the base. Having established the baseline, you can now set targets. And we've gone out there and done that. Our target is a 5% emissions reduction by 2010. But in addition, we have a goal to be a carbon neutral organization by that same time frame.
What are the challenges in terms of going further in this area? What lies ahead? What's next?
We're particularly proud of what we've been able to accomplish. But it is indeed a journey. There is a lot of work to be done. We haven't got it all covered at the moment, but we're making good progress. And I think that's the key. You have to recognize that this is not going to happen overnight, and it's a keep at it type thing. The whole term sustainability really says it all. You really need to keep at it.
Thank you for watching the second episode of Conversations about Corporate Responsibility. And again, a big thank you to Jim Johnston from BMO, and also Ty Louis from BMO as well, for helping share some of the remarkable things that BMO is doing in this area. Thanks again.